North Korea. Kaesong GDP growth scenario 52. The first inter-Korean integrated economic city, the 500-year ancient capital of Goryeo, creating the miracle on the Taedong River. North Korean Workers' Party can do a market economy. After denuclearization, Kaesong will enter a market economy and usher in an era of $20,000. Per capita GDP enjoyed by a population of 800,000 within 20 years. Kaesong's GDP is set at $1.6 billion in 2027, the benchmark year for transitioning to a market economy immediately following denuclearization. Of course, this figure is incomparably lower than Pyongyang's $11.7 billion, which stands towering with a massive gap, but it ranks in the upper middle tier among provincial cities, excluding Pyongyang. In 2027, Kaesong's GDP per capita starts at $4,100. This is slightly higher than the national average of $1,700 and ranks among the top of North Korea's 16 major cities. Kaesong City is a city in southern North Korea and is an ancient city that prospered for over 500 years as the former capital of Goryeo. As of 2026, its population is approximately 400,000. The Kaesong Industrial Complex is located in the southeastern part of Kaesong City, with a shortest distance of 2.5 kilometers from the Military Demarcation Line and only 500 meters west of the Demilitarized Zone, and its size exceeds the downtown area of Kaesong City. Kaesong is located approximately 70 kilometers in a straight line from downtown Seoul, about 60 kilometers from Incheon Airport, and about 8 kilometers south of Panmunjom. It takes about 1 hour from Seoul to Kaesong via the Gyeongui Line railway, and 1 hour and 30 minutes via the Gyeongui Expressway. This proximity is Kaesong's strongest asset. This is the current economic scale of Kaesong City. The Kaesong Industrial Complex has a special history, in which 125 South Korean companies and 55,000 North Korean workers previously produced $560 million annually, giving it a higher economic capacity than other North Korean cities. Considering that the existing infrastructure is being maintained despite the rapid contraction, since the suspension of the industrial complex in 2016, Kaesong City's current GDP is approximately $400 million and its GDP per capita is about $1,000. The total development area of the Kaesong Industrial Complex is approximately 20 million Pyong 66 square kilometers, consisting of a factory zone of approximately 6 million Pyong 20 square kilometers, a living, tourism, and commercial zone of approximately 3 million Pyong 10 square kilometers, and a Kaesong City and expansion zone of approximately 11 million Pyong 36 square kilometers. Phase 1, 3 square kilometers already has completed factory facilities, while phases 2 and 3, approximately 46 square kilometers, have been reserved as planned development sites. It is the only North Korean industrial facility capable of resuming operations within 6 to 12 months if existing tenant companies return, immediately after the denuclearization agreement. Kaesong served as the capital of the Goryeo dynasty for 474 years from 918 to 1392, and sites such as Manwoldae, the site of the Goryeo Royal Palace, Cheomsongdae, Kaesong Fortress, the tomb of King Gongmin, Seonjuk Bridge, the site of Jongmongju's martyrdom, and the Goryeo Museum have been designated as UNESCO World Heritage Sites. In terms of historical tourism potential, Kaesong holds an unrivaled position that cannot be compared to any other city in North Korea. Kaesong Ginseng has held a worldwide reputation as the origin of Goryeo Ginseng since before the division of Korea. As the birthplace of 6-year-old ginseng cultivated for over 500 years since the Joseon dynasty, the unique quality produced by Kaesong's soil and climate is impossible to replicate. The current international market price of 1 kilogram of 6-year-old ginseng is $100 to $500, which is 50 to 100 times more profitable than rice cultivation in the same area. Panmunjom will become a world-famous historical tourist destination after denuclearization. Kaesong is 8 kilometers away from Panmunjom, making it a natural base for accommodation and combined tourism for visitors to Panmunjom. This is the current status and master plan for Kaesong City by district. The entire administrative area of Kaesong City, approximately 1,700 square kilometers including Kaepong District, Panmun District, and Jangpung County, is divided into 8 development zones based on functional characteristics. Zone 1 is the Kaesong Industrial Complex Reconstruction and Expansion Special Economic Zone, covering an area of approximately 66 square kilometers in the southeastern part of Panmun District. Factory buildings belonging to 125 companies still exist in the 3 square kilometers area of Phase 1 of the Kaesong Industrial Complex. Although North Korea has managed the complex independently, since its suspension in February 2016, it is estimated that 70 to 80% of the factory buildings remain intact without structural damage. The master plan expands and upgrades the Kaesong Industrial Complex in 3 stages. Phase 1 involves immediate resumption of operations. During the 0 to 2 year period following the denuclearization agreement, priority will be given to the re-entry of companies among the existing 125 that wish to return. Power issues will be resolved through direct transmission line. Connections with Korea Electric Power Corporation KEPCO since the Munsan Kaesong 22.9 kilovolts. Transmission line has already been designed. Restoration is possible within 6 to 12 months. The initial resumption target is 50 companies, 30,000 North Korean workers, and an annual production value of $300 million. During the 2 7-year period of Phase 2 expansion, the scope will be expanded from 3 square kilometers in Phase 1 to 6 square kilometers in Phase 2, aiming for 300 companies, 150,000 workers, and an annual production value of $1.5 billion. The industries will be upgraded from the existing focus on textiles and electronics to automotive parts, precision machinery, semiconductor back-end processing OSAT, and IT services. During the 7 to 20-year period of the completion of Phase 3, the entire final 20 million Pyong 66 square kilometers will be developed. 1,000 companies will be placed in the 20 square kilometers factory zone, residential complexes for Koreans and foreigners, international schools, hospitals, and shopping malls. In the 10 square kilometers living and commercial zone and logistics complexes, research and development complexes, and residential complexes will be placed in the 36 square kilometers expansion zone. Once completed, this scale will become the single largest manufacturing cluster. With an annual production value of $5 billion and 300,000 employees, the differentiating point of the Kaesong Industrial Complex is the negotiation for recognition of origin as South Korean. If products manufactured in Kaesong are recognized as South Korean, tariff benefits under the Korea-US FTA and Korea-EU FTA apply, securing a decisive price advantage over China and Vietnam. The investment scale is approximately 300 billion won for Phase 1 restart, 3 trillion won for Phase 2 expansion, and 10 trillion won for Phase 3 completion, totaling approximately 13 trillion won to be executed in installments over 20 years. Funding will be secured through 30% from the Korean government's Inter-Korean Cooperation Fund, 50% from FDI by tenant companies, and 20% from loans from the ADB and IFC. The GDP contribution is 200 million in the second year of resumption, 1.5 billion in the 10th year, 5 billion in the 23 years. This zone is an overwhelmingly contributing zone, accounting for 60–70% of Kaesong's total GDP. Zone 2 is the Goryeo Historic and Cultural World Heritage Tourist Zone, covering an area of approximately 15 square kilometers of the old city center of Kaesong. The old downtown of Kaesong is the most densely populated historical city on the Korean peninsula. where the 474-year history of the Goryeo dynasty remains intact. The master plan designs this area as a new center of East Asian historical city tourism. Our goal is to create a historical tourism city brand comparable to Kyoto, Japan, Xi'an, China, and Gyeongju, Korea. The excavation site of Manwolde, the former site of the Goryeo Royal Palace, will resume joint inter-Korean excavation work and utilize the excavation process as tourism content. The live excavation site tour is a unique experience found nowhere else. We will expand the Goryeo Museum and develop it into an exhibition hall for the world's largest collections of Goryeo celadon, Goryeo metalwork, and Goryeo Buddhist paintings. We will renovate the area around Seonjuk Bridge into a historical walking path and create a themed zone that recreates a street from the Goryeo dynasty. A traditional shopping street selling traditional crafts, antiques, and ginseng souvenirs, similar to Insadong in Korea, will be established in the section between Seonjuk Bridge and the Goryeo Museum. We are packaging the Panmunjom linked tour as an essential course for Kaesong history tourism. The storyline, from the site of the Cold War, Panmunjom, to the glory of Goryeo, becomes a unique tourism brand exclusive to Kaesong, impossible to find anywhere else in the world. The scale of investment is approximately 200 billion won for the excavation and restoration of Manwolde, approximately 50 billion won for the expansion of the Goryeo Museum, and approximately 100 billion won for the creation of a historical street, totaling approximately 350 billion won. The funding comes from the UNESCO World Heritage Fund, the Cultural Heritage Administration of Korea, and the Korea Tourism Organization's Inter-Korean Tourism Cooperation Project budget. The GDP contribution is approximately 200 million based on 500,000 annual tourists and $400 per capita consumption in the 10th year of the base scenario. Zone 3 is the Kaesong Ginseng and Herbal Medicine Specialized Agricultural Cluster, covering an area of approximately 30 square kilometers in the northern hilly region of Kaesong District. The master plan develops this area into the Holy Land of World Goryeo Ginseng. The characteristics of the soil in Kaesong, such as its red clay content, excellent drainage, and hilly terrain with large diurnal temperature variations, are the world's optimal conditions for cultivating 6-year-old ginseng. We will gradually expand the ginseng cultivation area from the current several thousand hectares to 20,000 hectares. We will restore the global brand Kaesong Goryeo Ginseng. In a joint venture with Korea's KGC Ginseng Corporation and Nonghyup Ginseng, since there is a brand history of Goryeo Ginseng sold globally by Kaesong merchants prior to the division, immediate premium positioning is possible without marketing costs. A ginseng processing complex will be built within the district. By diversifying our products into red ginseng extract, ginseng capsules, ginseng beverages, ginseng cosmetics, and ginseng soap, we can create added value that is 3 to 5 times higher than exporting ginseng. In the Chinese market, one bottle of Korean ginseng red ginseng extract 75 milliliters is a high-priced health food sold for about $100 to $200. We are developing the Kaesong Ginseng Experience Tour as a tourism product. There is immediate demand in the Chinese and Japanese health tourism markets for a package that combines a ginseng field tour, ginseng harvesting experience, ginseng dish tasting, and traditional Korean medical treatment experience. The investment scale is approximately 300 billion won for supporting the expansion of ginseng, cultivation, and approximately 200 billion won for a processing complex, totaling approximately 500 billion won. The funding consists of 60% from Korea's KGC Ginseng Corporation joint venture FDI and 40% from the Agricultural Bank of Korea's Inter-Korean Agricultural Cooperation Loan. The annual GDP contribution from ginseng and herbal medicine production and exports is approximately $300 million based on the 10th year of the base scenario. Zone 4 is the Panmunjom DMZ Peace Tourism Zone, an area of approximately 10 square kilometers centered on the Panmun area. Panmunjom will become the most prominent historical site in the world after denuclearization. It is the place where the Korean War Armistice Agreement was signed, a symbolic site marking 70 years of division, and the stage for denuclearization agreement negotiations. The master plan designs the Panmunjom area as the Korean Peninsula Peace Memorial Park. The Joint Security Area, JSA, will be transformed into a peace memorial zone jointly managed by South and North Korea. The Armistice Agreement signing building, conference rooms, and the House of Freedom and House of Peace will be preserved in their original form and open to the public for direct entry. It will be utilized as an international conference venue where diplomats, politicians, and scholars from around the world research division and peace. We are developing an integrated inter-Korean visit program to Panmunjom. Currently, the South Korean JSA tour and the North Korean Panmunjom tour are separate, but after denuclearization they will be operated as a single integrated course. The most realistic core product is a 2-day, 1-night course starting from Seoul, Imjinggak, South Korean Panmunjom. Joint Security Area, North Korean Panmunjom Kaesong Historic District. Overnight stay, return the following day. The development of the DMZ Ecological Park is also important. The DMZ, where human access has been prohibited for 70 years, is the last remaining wild ecosystem on the Korean peninsula, and a habitat for endangered animals and plants such as cranes, Asiatic black bears, and water deer. We will designate the DMZ around Panmunjom as a UNESCO Biosphere Reserve and develop limited ecological exploration courses. The investment scale is approximately 150 billion won for the construction of the Peace Memorial Park and approximately 100 billion won for the visitor center, and accommodation facilities totaling approximately 250 billion won. Funding sources include UNESCO, the national budget for the DMZ Peace Zone project in Korea, and donations from the International Peace Foundation. The GDP contribution is approximately $150 million based on 500,000 annual visitors to Panmunjom and the DMZ and $300 per person in consumption. Zone 5 is the Kaesong Smart Logistics and Distribution Hub, covering an area of approximately 20 square kilometers connected by the Gyeongui Line and the Gyeongui Expressway. Kaesong is a key hub on the Gyeongui Line, located 70 kilometers from Seoul and 190 kilometers from Pyongyang. Once the Gyeongui Line high-speed railway is completed after denuclearization, a mega-economic zone connecting the 3 major cities of Seoul, Kaesong, and Pyongyang will be formed, and Kaesong will become an intermediate logistics hub on this axis. The master plan develops a 20 square kilometers site around Kaesong Station into North Korea's largest inland logistics hub. It constructs the Kaesong Inland Container Depot ICD to optimize the route for the containerization of products from the Kaesong Industrial Complex and their export to Incheon Port. We implement a logistics system in which automobile parts produced in the Kaesong Industrial Complex are loaded into containers at the Kaesong ICD and reach Incheon Port within 4 hours via the Gyeongui Line freight train. We will construct a large-scale 50,000-ton cold storage warehouse to serve as a relay base for the re-export of agricultural, ginseng, and fishery products from South Hwanghae Province to Korea. By attracting logistics hubs such as Hyundai Glovis and CJ Logistics from Korea, we will secure immediate investment and operational know-how. The investment scale is approximately 300 billion won for ICD construction and approximately 200 billion won for cold storage and logistics facilities, totaling approximately 500 billion won. Funding sources are ADB transport infrastructure loans and FDI from Korean logistics companies. The annual GDP contribution from logistics and transportation services is approximately $200 million. Zone 6 is the Kaesong New City Education and Medical Service Zone, which is an area of approximately 25 square kilometers of flat land north of Kaesong. This is a planned new city designed to accommodate South Korean business people and technicians, as well as the families of North Korean workers who will flow in following the reopening of the Kaesong Industrial Complex after denuclearization. The master plan designs the Kaesong International New City as a concept combining Seoul Sangam Digital Media City DMC and Pangyo Techno Valley. The Kaesong International University, jointly operated by South and North Korea, will be located in the center of the new city and specialized in fields such as business administration, trade, history, and Korean medicine. As the first joint South-North campus where students study together, this university will serve as a symbolic space for human exchange and mutual understanding. Medical institutions will construct the 300-bed Kaesong International Hospital to serve both workers at the Kaesong Industrial Complex and citizens of Kaesong. Medical cooperation agreements will be signed with Asan Medical Center and Samsung Seoul Hospital in South Korea, and a linkage system will be established to enable the transfer of critically ill patients to large hospitals in Seoul via the Gyeongui Line. The residential complex clearly separates residential areas for South Koreans from those for North Korean workers while sharing parks, commercial facilities, and schools. This mixed-use residential structure serves as a test bed for the practical integration of inter-Korean life. The scale of investment is approximately 1.5 trillion won for new city infrastructure, approximately 300 billion won for the International University, and approximately 200 billion won for the International Hospital. The total is approximately 2 trillion won. The funding sources are development led by Korea LH Corporation, the Ministry of Education's Inter-Korean Education Cooperation Fund, and ADB Health Loans. The annual GDP contribution from education, healthcare, and housing services is approximately 200 million. Zone 7 is the Kaesong Eco Farm Smart Agriculture Complex, an area of approximately 30 square kilometers in the western plains of Kaepong District. The western part of the Kaepong area is a fertile alluvial plain bordering the Han River estuary. The joint use of the Han River estuary was an agenda already agreed upon at the 2007 Inter-Korean Summit. The master plan develops the Kaepong Plain into a north-south joint smart farm complex. By introducing precision agriculture technology from Wageningen University in the Netherlands and drip irrigation technology from Israel, productivity per unit area will be increased to 3 to 5 times the current level. We will establish a joint fishing zone in the Han River estuary to create a cooperative structure where South and North Korean fishing vessels fish together and jointly process and sell seafood. The investment scale is approximately 200 billion won for the smart farm complex and approximately 50 billion won for the Han River estuary fishing facilities, totaling approximately 250 billion won. The funding sources are the Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry, and Fisheries Inter-Korean Agricultural Cooperation Fund, and the Israeli government's Official Development Assistance ODA. The annual GDP contribution from the agriculture and fisheries sectors is approximately $100 million. Zone 8 is an area of approximately 900 square kilometers that was incorporated into Kaesong City in 2023. As a specialized zone for ecological, recreational, and medicinal plants in Gyeongui County. The master plan specializes the vast mountainous regions of Gyeongui-gun into a professional cultivation area for medicinal plants such as ginseng, angelica, conidium, and astragalus. While ginseng cultivation in Kaesong is concentrated in the hilly areas of Zone 3, the high-altitude forest areas of Gyeongui-gun are optimal for cultivating high-value medicinal herbs other than ginseng. We are developing trout and cherry salmon farming, an eco-camping site, and a forest healing center utilizing the pristine streams of the Jangpyeonggun Valley. The investment scale is approximately 100 billion won for supporting the cultivation of medicinal plants and approximately 50 billion won for ecotourism facilities, totaling approximately 150 billion won. The annual GDP contribution from medicinal plants and ecotourism is approximately $0.5 billion. This is the GDP growth scenario in Kaesong City. Kaesong's 5 major growth engines are the overwhelmingly #1 Kaesong Industrial Complex manufacturing, history and culture tourism, ginseng and herbal medicine industries, logistics and services, and education and medical services. The comparison reference point is Paju-si, Gyeonggi-do, South Korea. Paju has grown from a small city with a population of 150,000 in the 1980s into a leading industrial city in Gyeonggi Province with a population of 520,000 and a per capita GDP of approximately $32,000 by 2024, driven by the development of planned industrial complexes, such as LCD, semiconductor, and publishing complexes. Kaesong and Paju are cities facing each other across the DMZ, serving as the most suitable reference points to show how the opposite sides of the same axis have grown. The basic scenario is the Paju model, in which opening proceeds as expected. After denuclearization and the Kaesong Industrial Complex is restarted and expanded, during the 3-year period following denuclearization, the first phase of the Kaesong Industrial Complex will be restarted. 50 companies, 30,000 workers, Goryeo history tourism will be opened, 100,000 visitors per year, and ginseng exports will begin. The city's GDP is approximately $1 billion, its population is 420,000, and its GDP per capita is approximately 2,380. The basis of this figure is the sum of the annual production value of 50 companies. In the Kaesong Industrial Complex, $300 million, tourism $40 million, our ginseng exports $200 million, other services $300 million, during the 4 to 10-year period following denuclearization. The second phase of the Kaesong Industrial Complex. Expansion: 300 companies, 150,000 workers, the opening of the Panmunjom Peace Park, 300,000 visitors per year, and the completion of the ginseng processing complex will take place. The city's GDP is approximately $2.8 billion. Its population is 520,000, and its GDP per capita is approximately 5,385. During the 11 to 20-year period following denuclearization, the final stage of the Kaesong Industrial Complex, 1,000 companies, 300,000 workers, the completion of the Gyeongui Line, high-speed railway 1 hour from Seoul to Kaesong, and the completion of the Kaesong New City will be achieved. The city's GDP is approximately 7.5 billion. The population is 650,000, and the GDP per capita is approximately 11,540. A per capita GDP of $20,000 will be achieved 25 to 30 years after denuclearization. The city's GDP will be approximately $15 billion, and the population will be $750,000. The optimistic scenario is based on the Singapore-Jurong Industrial Complex model, where the Kaesong Industrial Complex is fully reopened immediately after denuclearization and large-scale global companies simultaneously enter the market. The path Singapore took to leap to the level of a developed nation within 20 years. After gaining independence in 1965 through the development of the Jurong Industrial Park, serves as a reference point. 5 years after denuclearization, with 300 companies operating in the Kaesong Industrial Complex, 1 million tourists annually, and $500 million in ginseng exports, the city's GDP will be approximately $4 billion, the population 550,000, and the GDP per capita approximately $7,270. 10 years after denuclearization, with 500 companies in the Kaesong Industrial Complex, 2 million annual tourists, and the completion of a logistics hub, the city's GDP will be approximately $8.5 billion, the population 650,000, and the GDP per capita approximately 13,080. Under an optimistic scenario, a per capita GDP of $20,000 is achieved in about 20 years after denuclearization. In 2047, the city's GDP will be approximately $16 billion, and its population will be $800,000. The pessimistic scenario is that the implementation of denuclearization is intermittent, and the Kaesong Industrial Complex is reopened with only a small number of companies, fewer than 50. 10 years after denuclearization, the city's GDP is only about $1.2 billion and per capita GDP is only about $2,670, and per capita GDP of $20,000 is only achieved about 50 years after denuclearization. This is a comprehensive estimate of the GDP contribution by industry to Kaesong City. It is based on the baseline scenario 20 years after denuclearization. The manufacturing sector of the Kaesong Industrial Complex consists of 1,000 companies with an annual production value of $5 billion, accounting for 67% of the total GDP. The investment will cost approximately 13 trillion won and will be financed through corporate FDI, the Inter-Korean Cooperation Fund, and ADB loans. The history, tourism, and Panmunjom sectors account for 2 million annual visitors, and $400 per person in spending, totaling approximately $800 million annually and 11% of GDP. The investment requires approximately 600 billion won. The ginseng and traditional medicine industry accounts for approximately $400 million annually, or 5% of GDP. Investment is required for about 500 billion won. The logistics and transportation services sector accounts for approximately $400 million annually, or 5% of GDP. Investment is required for about 500 billion won. The education, healthcare, and housing services sectors account for approximately $500 million annually, or 7% of GDP. Investment requires about 2 trillion won. The agriculture and eco-farm sector accounts for approximately $150 million annually, or 2% of GDP. Other domestic consumption sectors account for approximately $200 million annually, or 3% of GDP. When these are added together 20 years after denuclearization, Kaesong City's GDP will be approximately $7.45 billion, its population 650,000, and its GDP per capita approximately 11,260. The total investment required is approximately 17 to 18 trillion won, which will be executed in installments over 20 years. Kaesong's decisive strength is that it is the first inter-Korean integrated economic city on the Korean peninsula. There are many historical monuments, and since it is close to North Korea, security tourism will also be active. However, this assessment significantly underestimates the potential of Kaesong. Kaesong has two things that are fundamentally different from all other cities in North Korea. The first is the already proven experience of inter-Korean economic cooperation. The Kaesong Industrial Complex was actually operated for 11 years, from 2005 to 2016, and labor practices, wage systems, and management experience from that time have been accumulated. The second is the physical proximity of 70 kilometers from Seoul. This transforms Kaesong into an extension of the South Korean Metropolitan Economic Zone, enabling it to function not merely as a North Korean city, but as a key nodal point of the Seoul-Kaesong-Pyongyang mega-region. The coexistence of the 500-year history of the Goryeo royal capital, the origin of the world's best ginseng, Panmunjom, a symbol of the division of the Korean peninsula, and an industrial complex awaiting reactivation in one city, is a unique condition, found only in Kaesong that cannot be found anywhere else in world history. If this door is opened with the key of denuclearization, Kaesong will become the most powerful engine of North Korea's economic growth in a short period of time. Next time, I will discuss the growth scenario of Rason. Thank you.